Breaking news today, chaos erupted in Midtown Manhattan when an armed attacker stormed a major office tower, highlighting the failure of city leaders who have promised safety yet have delivered the opposite. Why do these tragedies continue to occur?
Hello and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Fox News reports a breaking story. An active shooter has prompted a massive police response in Midtown Manhattan. Tonight, chaos unfolded as an armed individual entered a high-rise building housing major corporations such as the NFL, Blackstone, and KPMG, resulting in 5 fatalities, including a heroic off-duty officer. Before this tragedy is politically exploited, it's crucial to question why such incidents continue to occur in cities governed by those who pledge safety, yet often deliver the opposite. Instead of engaging in a meaningful discussion on mental health and societal issues, there are repetitive calls for gun control. These solutions fail to address the underlying problems and consistently infringe upon our rights. Why is this the case? Let's see what we've got here.
Right now, there are hundreds of New York City police officers who have cordoned off and frozen this whole area from about 54th Street on down to Grand Central Station, the Grand Central Terminal, in the heart of New York City's skyscrapers and business district, as they wait to try and flush out and remove any of the victims by EMS and get a determination on the cause or the motive of the shooter.
What we are witnessing is the direct result of years of failed leadership in New York City and Albany. Political posturing has overshadowed the implementation of effective solutions that could enhance public safety. Now hundreds of officers are tasked with securing the area from 51st Street to Grand Central Terminal, a vital part of the business district, because the system has failed to prevent these all-too-common tragedies. Rather than empowering law enforcement and ensuring the enforcement of laws, city officials have engaged in endless debates and offered empty promises, prioritizing political gains over public safety. Every time an incident occurs, predictable calls for more gun control emerge from the left, suggesting that stripping rights from law-abiding citizens will address mental health crises or the decay of family and community structures, issues that have been ignored for decades. In this case, the shooter had a known history of mental illness, yet the immediate response was to blame the weapon rather than exploring how he fell through the cracks. New York's leaders have focused more on vilifying responsible gun owners and the police than on repairing the flawed systems that allow these tragedies to occur. Also, the mainstream media plays a significant role by promoting a narrative that aligns with their agenda, often overlooking the shortcomings of progressive policies that have left cities like New York vulnerable. They seldom hold Democratic officials accountable for policies that compromise public safety, preferring instead to concentrate on sensational headlines and divisive rhetoric. What we need are genuine solutions that prioritize public safety, respect constitutional rights, and empower communities to tackle the root causes of violence. This involves supporting our police, reforming mental health laws, and ensuring accountability among those in power. The American people are weary of political games and deserve leadership that prioritizes their safety and freedoms above partisan interests.
Again, Laura, I have been told, not confirmed, that the shooter is dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and at least 6 people have been shot, and they are responding to potential victims.
The facts emerging from this tragedy expose a familiar pattern. A perpetrator with a known mental health history crossing state lines with firearms and causing devastation in a major business district. The immediate response from many on the left is to call for sweeping new gun restrictions, despite New York's already stringent gun laws. What often goes unaddressed is why someone with clear warning signs was overlooked, and why our mental health system continues to fail despite significant investment. Instead of tackling these fundamental issues, we see political theater. Democrats in Albany and City Hall are using this incident to advocate for more centralized control and bureaucracy, ignoring the failures of their own policies to ensure public safety. The reality is that tragedies occur not because law-abiding citizens have too many rights, but because the state has failed to effectively manage violent offenders and those with severe mental illnesses. The mainstream media often perpetuates a narrative that focuses on the weapon rather than the perpetrator, seldom questioning the effectiveness of so-called reforms that have made our cities more dangerous and hampered police effectiveness. This results in a public debate that is detached from reality, where political expediency overshadows genuine solutions and the voices of ordinary Americans seeking both safety and liberty are ignored. There is a growing divide in this country between those who advocate for empowering communities and upholding constitutional rights, and those who view every crisis as an opportunity to expand government power at the expense of individual freedom. As we approach the next election, this divide will deepen, with Democrats likely to continue their ineffective strategies, while Republicans, under President Trump's leadership, will champion policies that prioritize American citizens, restore order, and respect the Constitution. Calls for adopting foreign-style restrictions or globalist approaches overlook the unique aspects of American society and the importance of self-determination. The solution lies not in mimicking models from abroad that clash with our culture and constitution, but in demanding accountability from our leaders, investing in mental health reform, and supporting law enforcement officers who risk their lives for community safety. This is not the time for empty promises or partisan blame games. It is a moment to confront the hard truths about what is and isn't working in our cities, and to reject the failed status quo in favor of real, lasting change that prioritizes the safety and freedom of every American.
So we're trying to determine as best as we can what office or what company may have been targeted by this active shooter.
There are photos up, we're not going to put them up yet, but there are photos of what looks to be the individual carrying a rifle. Again, reports in the Post and elsewhere that he was carrying a rifle. Unclear if he had other weapons on his person. But you know, it's a absolutely shocking photo to see someone walking across a plaza on Park Avenue openly carrying a rifle in his hand and looking very casual as he's doing that.
The images, yet to be released publicly, reportedly capture the shooter nonchalantly entering one of the nation's most prominent office towers on Park Avenue, home to NFL headquarters, Blackstone, and other major firms. This area is a beacon of American enterprise and ambition. The ease with which the assailant, armed with an M4 rifle and a loaded revolver, could wreak havoc in such a significant location during broad daylight underscores a serious breakdown in deterrence and public order. Fox News has been prompt and thorough in its coverage, providing real-time updates and detailed information about the shooter, Shane Tamura, including his background and mental health history. These details are vital for understanding the systemic failures that led to this tragedy. The coverage tends to overemphasize the weapon used, rather than addressing the more critical issue of how someone with known mental health problems was able to legally obtain weapons and travel undetected across states. There is a missed opportunity in Fox News' reporting to challenge the narratives promoted by Democratic officials and their media allies more vigorously. The network could focus more on scrutinizing the policies that allowed these oversights and question whether the mental health system is indeed effective despite years of promised reforms and funding. The coverage should also probe the bureaucratic failures that compromise public safety rather than merely echoing calls for more restrictions. Visually, Fox News responsibly chose to withhold the most graphic images. Still, the focus on the shooter's casual demeanor highlights the disturbing normalization of such violent acts in our cities. The real issue extends beyond the weapon to the environment that permits such brazen violence, where even off-duty officers and law-abiding citizens are at risk, and politicians offer little beyond condolences. While the network commendably honors the heroism of Officer Didarul Islam and the resilience of the survivors, the coverage would benefit from including more independent experts, mental health professionals, law enforcement veterans, and community leaders, who can discuss the broader societal failures at play. Fox News should also challenge the selective outrage from other media outlets and push for a more honest debate and accountability. The American public deserves coverage that goes beyond regurgitating official statements from City Hall or Albany. It should demand tough questions about why these tragedies continue to occur and what genuine solutions should look like. Clearly, a man with a history of mental illness was able to arm himself legally and shatter lives in a place symbolizing power and success. The focus should not be on enacting more laws, but on addressing the failures that allow such tragedies to happen, holding those in power accountable for ensuring the safety and freedom of ordinary Americans.
Eric, the man in the New York Post coverage, which is more extensive now, seen wearing a blazer, a button-down shirt, dark sunglasses, as he's carrying what appears to be a AR-style rifle with a strap, and it looks like he might have a suppressor on the barrel of the AR-style rifle. It's hard to tell in this photo, but it's definitely an AR-style rifle.
The image of Eric calmly entering a Park Avenue tower, clad in a blazer and sunglasses with a rifle and apparent suppressor in tow, is a jarring symbol of the ongoing vulnerabilities in America's financial heart. Such violence, especially in a building that hosts major entities like the NFL and Blackstone, sends shockwaves far beyond the immediate vicinity, shaking economic confidence and urban stability. In response, businesses are forced to reassess their security budgets and insurance premiums, contemplating their future in increasingly unstable urban environments. The aftermath of such incidents prompts immediate changes, with major tenants like the NFL and Blackstone transitioning to remote work and enhancing private security measures. These adjustments, while necessary, lead to increased operational costs that consumers ultimately bear through higher prices and potentially less investment in innovation and hiring. Small businesses already struggling with inflation and regulatory challenges face added pressures as foot traffic diminishes and insurance costs soar. The repercussions extend to local households as well. The reconsideration of urban investments by corporate giants can lead to job losses, lower property values, and a weakened tax base, which in turn affects funding for essential services. Families are forced to balance the risks of urban living with potential opportunities, impacting decisions on where to reside. Also, the broader financial sector, which depends on New York's status as a safe global hub, must now contend with reputational damage and its deterrent effect on tourism and investment. This incident is not isolated, but indicative of a broader issue that exposes the inadequacies of top-down, bureaucratic approaches. Despite official reports of increased gun seizures and falling crime rates, the reality experienced by residents paints a starkly different picture. The emphasis on impressive enforcement statistics often overshadows the underlying failures in leadership and the erosion of community institutions that traditionally fostered stability and accountability. Instead of implementing meaningful reforms, there is a tendency to resort to reactionary measures that fail to tackle the root problems, such as inadequate mental health care, waning civic engagement, and a decline in personal responsibility. Economic resilience hinges on more than just statistics. It requires a solid foundation of trust and order. Policies that empower local communities, uphold constitutional rights, and prioritize the well-being of law-abiding citizens are crucial for rebuilding this foundation. The previous administration's focus on stringent regulations and globalist agendas did little to fortify American cities or support families. Rejecting these failed policies and adopting common-sense reforms supported by the current administration is essential for positive change. The challenge for New Yorkers and all Americans is to determine how long they are willing to endure policies that compromise both safety and prosperity. The cost of inaction extends beyond tragic headlines, manifesting in lost opportunities, higher living costs, and reduced freedoms for ordinary families. As the financial sector adjusts and households reassess their situations, the demand for accountable, effective leadership is more pressing than ever. Well, there you have it. Tonight, we saw politicians once again exploit a tragedy for their own gain. They follow a predictable script, blame law-abiding citizens, call for more restrictions, and never acknowledge their own failures. The previous Democratic administration, led by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, spent years undermining public trust, weakening law enforcement, and contributing to chaos in our streets without ever taking responsibility. Under President Trump, we see leadership that prioritizes our rights and the well-being of American families. Why do they advocate for control instead of real solutions? Perhaps because genuine solutions would threaten their power. Consider this carefully. Be sure to comment below while dropping a like and subscribing. Until next time.